Let's now get to the latest from Catalonia. Members of Catalonia's government arrived at the headquarters in Barcelona for a meeting ahead of a crucial plenary session in the region's parliament. This even as the Catalan parliament is preparing for a crucial debate on Article 155 and the prospect of independence from Spain. As we speak, these are live visuals that we're getting to you of the protests which continue. Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy's government had threatened to implement measures to take direct control of the region on Friday if Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont does not back down from his demands for independence. Puigdemont was expected to go to Madrid today to explain his position on independence from Spain, but no visit has been officially scheduled to the Spanish capital so far. Protests continue to erupt, with the tensions remaining high after the recently held referendum which called for Catalonia to split from Spain, following which the Catalan leader had retracted. Carles Puigdemont was supposed to travel to the Spanish capital in order to explain his position when it comes to independence from Spain. Remember, sentiments were also running high after Carles Puigdemont's, the Catalan leader's speech, wherein he was ambiguous when it comes to the Catalan movement, when it comes to the movement for independence after the referendum was held. That's also indicating that there was pressure when it comes to the Catalans to succumb to when it comes to Spain's continuing insistence that the Catalans should give up their demand for independence. In fact, analysts also indicate that Carles Puigdemont could formally declare independence or even call a snap election or on Friday before the Senate strips him of his powers and imposes direct rule from Madrid. The Spanish government has declared the referendum as illegal and declined Puigdemont's call for dialogue. Instead, the government has opted to take control of the Catalan region. Hundreds of demonstrators continue to gather outside the headquarters of the government of Catalonia. This to show support for the possibility of Puigdemont declaring independence and protest against the imposition of Article 155 by Madrid. The protesters waving banners and flags and chanting slogans, essentially organized by educational activists rallying against interference from the Spanish government in the Catalan education system. These are the scenes of protests coming to you as Catalan supporters continue to up the ante after the recently held referendum. Hundreds of protesters continue to gather outside the headquarters of the government of Catalonia. This to show support for the possibility of Carles Puigdemont, the Catalan leader, declaring independence and protesting against the imposition of Article 155 by Madrid. The protests have largely been organized by educational activists and members of the civil society who are rallying against interference from the Spanish government in the Catalan education system. Activists say the application of Article 155 was an embarrassment and would in a way politicize education. Sentiments continue to run high after the recently held referendum. Supporters continue to gather outside the headquarters of the government there and waving banners and raising slogans. These protesters gathering outside the headquarters of the government of Catalonia to show support for the possibility of Carles Puigdemont declaring independence and also protesting against the imposition of Article 155 by Madrid. The protests have largely been organized by education activists, members of the civil society and supporters who are rallying against interference from the Spanish government in the Catalan education system. Activists saying the application of Article 155 was an embarrassment, to quote them, and would in a way politicize education. Our senior foreign editor Padma Rao now joins us from the newsroom to really contextualize this for our viewers and elaborate on what the situation on the ground really is like. Padma, sentiments continue to run high. These are visuals of massive demonstrations which continue supporting the call and also, in fact, protesting against the imposition of Article 155. Help our viewers understand, first of all, what the imposition of Article 155 would really mean.
Well, Article 155, the imposition of it on Catalonia, which is an autonomous province, would mean that Catalonia's autonomy would be removed, temporarily removed in this case, and replaced by central rule from Madrid and a call for fresh elections within 6 months. So that is essentially what the Catalans on the pictures you're seeing are protesting about. Now, this has been, the scenes that we see playing out are actually, yet another bout in a long tug of war. This is how I would perceive them, because the government in Madrid, the sequence of events is as follows. The government in Madrid has repeatedly asked Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont to clearly state whether he is declaring independence for his autonomous province as he had threatened, based upon the result of a referendum which Madrid had already declared, or rather the Constitutional Court had declared illegal. Now, all this happened several weeks, about 10 days ago, when there was no response from the Catalan leader except to say that he had indeed declared independence, but technically, he was holding it back and pursuing talks with Madrid. There was a respite. People thought that, the two sides would talk. Madrid, then no talks took place, and Madrid set him a fresh deadline for the following Thursday. No response from Carles Puigdemont even on that Thursday. Yet another deadline was set for the following week, and when that expired, Madrid announced its intention of taking the matter to the Senate, which will decide based upon a popular vote, or rather a vote within the Senate, as to how many members agree that Catalonia should now be ruled by Madrid, from Madrid directly. So that is where it stands, and what the Senate did was to invite Carles Puigdemont to this Senate meeting, which was to take place initially earlier this week. They wanted him to have the opportunity to also present his case and explain to the Senate why, in his opinion, Article 155 should not be imposed on Catalonia. But Carles Puigdemont did not go on that particular day. Then there was a delay of another few days. In the meantime, Carles Puigdemont heard that this is what we read, that the Senate had already made up its mind to invoke Article 155, and that his appearance in the Senate was only going to be a mere formality. Based on that, on hearsay from what we read, Mr. Puigdemont declined to attend the Senate meeting overall and at all. So the Senate meeting is, the Senate is simultaneously looking at this matter and wondering whether to impose Article 155. And the way I read these simultaneous demonstrations and the pictures we're seeing, I read them as an attempt by Mr. Carles Puigdemont, as well as the Catalan supporters he has there, who support independence, to put additional pressure on Madrid, even as the Senate sits and decides the matter of Article 155.
Absolutely, Padma. As the tug of war continues, these are scenes of the demonstrations which continue in Barcelona. But one positive development, if I may, Padma, is that Barcelona has witnessed violence and simmering tensions for the longest time. One thing that has changed over the last few hours or days is that these protests have somewhat turned peaceful. These are the scenes that we are getting to our viewers from Barcelona. But we do expect uncertainty to remain as the tug of war continues, as many also say that Carles Puigdemont could formally declare independence or even call a snap election or on Friday before the Senate strips him of his powers and imposes direct rule from Madrid. Is that also a strong possibility?
Well, he can declare what he likes and he can call what he likes, but the fact remains that the status of Catalonia is still very much covered or comes under the umbrella of the constitution of the country of Spain, the Republic of Spain. So whatever he declares, he does not have a constitutional standing, a leg to stand on. So, you know, just like the referendum which he went ahead with, even though the Constitutional Court said it was illegal, he may well, you know, take a step further and declare independence. But just by merely declaring independence, and that too without the support of either the European Union or its biggest economies, Germany and France, both of whom, and especially Germany, have bailed Spain out of the terrible recession that it plunged into in 2006-2007. All those countries are firm on the fact that they will support Madrid and not Catalonia's call for independence. Now, given those circumstances, it seems I think whatever Mr. Puigdemont does now will be seen as symbolism. And, you know, symbolism I mean, basically symbolism that is for the masses, meant for the consumption of the masses who are supporting his call for independence. And one final point, Molly, one thing we should always keep in mind is that at the referendum for independence, and the so-called illegal referendum for independence several weeks ago, there was only a 42% turnout of the total population of Catalonia. And out of that 42 or 41% indeed, there was a 90% you know, agreement over independence for Catalonia.
Right.
This effectively means that half the number of registered voters in Catalonia did not participate in that referendum. And indeed, we saw many of that half which did not participate, which does not want independence and which wants to remain very much within Spain and the European Union. They came out over the subsequent days and they held their own quiet demonstrations on the streets of Barcelona. Having said all that, one must praise these young people, the fact that they haven't displayed many signs of violence. If there was any violence at all, it came from the police forces that were sent in by Madrid to control the situation, and Madrid has been widely condemned for that, including by the European Union.
All right, we're going to leave it there for the moment, Padma. Unfortunately, completely running out of time. I would have loved to push another question, but with that, we're taking a short breather. We will, however,